Hello and welcome to the show. I am here on Forza 6 with another silly car build. My vehicle today is the Mercedes 280 SL, one of the cars from the latest DLC pack. We're going to have another convertible take on it'll get a little bit soggy inside here from the with the wet Brands Hatch circuit. This car, I probably don't expect it to quite be breaking any records. However, choice of engines, there are two, the 3.2 litre i6 and the 4.5 litre V8. For the sake of this challenge, we're going to go with the i6. I believe it is a slightly more powerful engine, not by a huge amount, slightly more power, and it is slightly lighter than the V8. So we will go with the i6, and of course we will be going for a nice big turbocharger as well. We're going to be wanting the aero parts to try and keep the car, well, hopefully under control. It does look slightly peculiar with the sort of chin spoiler almost going on down there, and we're not going to have a silly wing. No, we're going to have the relatively sensible. We don't get very many silly wings on cars. There are a few, but a lot of the time much more sensible than the days of Forza 4 when it would be all manner of crazy. We will remove that rear bit of trim while we're there, save that little bit of weight. Tyres, of course. We are going to be wanting some race tyres. From standard, the tyre widths look tiny. I wonder what we're going to get up to here. Yeah, 185s to start with. 245s on the front is certainly not too bad. And we're going to get, back 265s. We're likely to get some sliding. It's not going to be the most planted vehicle, that much is for sure. I love how these tyre widths have jumped. The tyre widths have jumped the PI up massively. That's quite impressive PI gain, but they are a very, very useful part. Definitely the first thing that I will do with a car when it comes to just racing. Normally, of course, with this build is max everything out on the vehicle, but yeah, when I'm building a car for whatever class, the first thing that I'm going to be doing with it is upgraded tyre widths. We will get, of course, all of these parts. Race diff, always important in the classic cars. Some of them have very open diffs from standard, so you just get a one tyre fire. In some of the more modern cars, not quite as important unless you want to be tweaking stuff around and so on. But of course, again, with this sort of build, you're going to be getting everything on the vehicle. Suspension is going to be relatively high. I have a suspicion that this might roll over quite easily. At Brands Hatch, we have seen a few cars go over. This could well be one of them. It's just one of those, and I get the feeling that we could have a big accident. We do get the kind of the visible roll cage at the back. I quite like those. And weight reduction should drop us down to £2,500. It's a relatively good kind of weight area. I said there's about silly car builds before. When they're under £2,000, they can often get very, very twitchy. We've seen that with the likes of the Maserati Birdcage and so on. If they are too light with too much power, they can get on the twitchy side. So having that little bit more weight can give them a tad more stability. Of course, if you add too much weight on, then you lose the acceleration and whatnot. So there's a fine balance, and £2,500 is around half decent. We're not quite expecting this to be challenging the Carrera at the top of the table. It could do relatively well. This engine, we are up to 656 horsepower. I believe, if I remember correctly, this engine can get about 1,000 horsepower on Horizon 2. I think it gets slightly less on here, so we're not quite going to be getting past the 1,000 horsepower mark. We're still likely to be getting a good amount out of it, up to 730. Turbo, we are going to, that's more like it, adds almost 200 horsepower, 928 horsepower. That's that's a nice jump. 654 foot-pounds of torque. We will stick the intercooler on. The intercooler adds 35 horsepower. The PI doesn't change. Now, the intercooler does add some weight. Now, this is a scary news for me, because when you're adding on that much power and it does nothing to the car's PI, that suggests to me we might have some handling problems. I know these do add weight onto the vehicle as well, but I think we could have some handling interestingness from the Mercedes. We are not even into R-Class, or with this vehicle, it could be quite a tough one to drive. I have a feeling. of course, to test out the Mercedes, we have come to the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, where it will get 6 laps to go as fast as possible. Current leader is the Porsche Carrera GT with a 49.3 second lap time. Time that I don't suspect we are going to be getting anywhere near with this car. We are, yeah, okay, we spin the wheels up quite a long way from the get-go. Yeah, I suspect if I actually ran across that curb, we would get a pretty big roll. Are we going to get slowed down for turn 2? Indeed we are. Well, it's not the most ridiculous car that I've had around here. It's not the hardest to drive, so I'm not quite sure why we weren't picking up here. I mean, we had cars do a lot stranger things. I was worried there might be some oddities with this. Oh no, off the puddles, off the grass, and the puddles in the grass is never good. Finding puddles in the grass. I suspect we are. Yeah, I mean it's. It wants to go sideways, but I think it's much easier controlled than the Alpha as well. Okay. Again, like everything else, it just slides around that corner. Now we can get to full throttle down here, which is pretty good going. We cracked the 150 almost mile an hour mark down the straight. This is not that bad of a car, really. Around here, I think it's really quite nice and composed. We don't quite have the very, very long gears that we saw in the Alpha, and we have seen in a few previous vehicles, so we spin the wheels up in second and third for that matter. Oh, that was quite a nasty one. Quite forgiving though. I mean, I've had it on puddles, I've had it on the grass here, and it's all just about been kind of savable. Been able to catch it in time. We've not gone soaring off into the scenery. It's quite. I was worried this was going to be utterly ridiculous, but it's actually quite a nice car. We can be careful around that final turn. We can't quite get to full throttle down there, but not very many cars have. Even the Carrera couldn't get to full throttle. Oh, now things have gone badly wrong. We're going to be going incredibly sideways into turn 1. I'm not quite sure how I'm alive there. It started going, and I was fairly confident we were about to have a giant shunt or roll it from the high speed on the grass, but we got it back together again. That's, not a bad lap time. Especially considering a lot of the cars that have done this have been into R-Class, some have been mid to high R-Class. And this is, yeah, I think a really good car. I'm really, really surprised. I'm only half a second down. Despite going into turn 1 with a wheel on the grass sideways, I'm only half a second down on this lap. That's, yeah. I can't believe how much you can get away with in this car. I wonder how we fare. I'm trying to get on that throttle sooner down there. You can't quite do it. It's so close, but not quite able to get to full throttle down there. Right, no silliness coming into turn 1, apart from I did brush the curb. Okay, not quite. Oh, okay, curb on the outside is far worse than the curb on the inside at turn 1 for this car. That was, I mean, I went to full aggressive mode coming into that first corner because I thought I might get away with it. We're not, well, I mean, I'm sure we could roll it. It's not instant rollover like we have seen from the Alpha 75, the Porsche and so on. The curb on the outside though really messed it up. It is a horrendous curb on the outside of that turn 1. Easily one of the worst curbs to hit, I think, in general. In the dry it causes no end of problem. Seen many times in the likes of Versus the Community and just general online racing. You can get in trouble out there very, very easily. Just sticking a wheel on that curb causes a lot of cars upset, let alone these utterly, utterly stupid vehicles. Right, oh, get that power down across the bumps. It's, yeah, I mean, it notices the bumps a little bit, but we've had much worse. Things like the Porsches, they were having big problems on those bumps. The 944 was sliding, the 365 tried to take off. This, nothing. Absolutely nothing. It will slide a little bit, but that's just general power delivery around the kink there, and, almost everything has done that. Right, so let's try and be careful down here. I think maybe leaving it in third gear might be a good idea as so that turbo kicks in, which is going to wheel spin for days. We've found some time, which is always good. Okay, final corner. Now, can we continue to get out of here nicely? We're not quite able to boot it in third gear out of these turns. We are still going to have to be a little bit careful. It's kind of close. It's very close to full throttle. This had bigger tyres, and this has got some of the smallest tyres, or not quite the smallest, but relatively small tyres. Ah, pushed it too far. too far into turn one. Ah, damn it, as we were coming on to the final lap. That previous lap, though, was a mighty, mighty good one. Here is... yeah, we're not going to be beating that one anytime soon. But considering this car is, yeah, I mean, these tyres are not that big compared to a lot of the vehicles that have gone. I was fearing control issues with this car. That's absolutely not the case. There is a little bit of understeer, but again, I've had much more understeery vehicles. With much more understeery vehicles. The BMW 1M springs to mind. There's a few cars as well that have yeah, been quite understeery. Look at it go! It is really happy to be very, very sideways, and it's so controllable with it as well. Oh, no, I'm going to get a twitch. That's what simulation steering will do to you if you get it wrong. I really like this car. Oh, it's another fantastic car, this one. It's great fun. A bit like the RX-3, incredibly forgiving for doing silly stuff. And recover. Oh, on the grass. Not quite. This is far better than I thought it was. Actually, a decent lap time as well. Great fun for messing about through the turns. Much more controllable than that Alpha was for doing silliness through these corners, if that is what you are after. I think it looks great as well. Yeah, it's a surprise. It's not at all how I expected the Mercedes to drive. Really not at all in that manner, but yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. The lap time, what was it? It was a 52.318. That will put the car into 13th place. It goes quicker than the Maserati Birdcage. The Alfa 75 beats the Mazda RX-3, and it is only 0.3 of a second down on the Mercedes C63 AMG. That C63 had a huge amount of power. I think that was about with a 1,200 horsepower engine in that, and this is only 0.3 of a second down on it. This is a great car. It's a really good car around these turns. You can certainly have a lot of fun with it, and it is possibly one of the most forgiving vehicles I've ever driven around this circuit. It's so forgiving. The amount of times I got it on puddles and I had a wheel on the grass and it was controllable. It's absolutely remarkable. Now though, it is time to find out how fast the Mercedes will go in a straight line. And of course, to find that out, we have come to the Le Mans circuit. Now, while the Mercedes is very good fun to drive and has a lot of power, 970 horsepower is a lot, it's certainly not the most that we have seen from a vehicle, so we're not expecting 270 out of the car. It is still likely to do fairly well, and certainly the initial benchmark, 218.9, we should possibly get it to maybe 225. Yeah, that's not far off, really. Can we get 225 out of the Mercedes? I think that would be doing. Nope, not going that way. We won't. Let's maybe bring it back. 225 would certainly, not be too bad. It looks like it's going to be just short of that mark. Yeah, 224. No, I don't think we're going to be able to get much. Not going to get much more by going that way, anyway. Okay. 224.4 is currently what we are reckoning the car can do. I will, though, just sort of bring it back. It's just a kind of a test. We'll see if that's... Nope, I was using the graph, down the bottom there, see if that was going to do anything better. It's not. It's going to be a little bit of a shame. I mean, I always want the cars to be going faster. Okay, let's see if we can manage that. Now, in the rain, the suspension on this car was... worked pretty damn well. While it is a slightly higher riding vehicle than quite a lot that we have seen, and there's probably certainly the potential to roll it into turn one. The bigger test of the suspension is going to come around a couple of places here. The bumps coming onto the long straight, they've caught out many a vehicle. This one here could be another one. This car just wants to be sideways again. God damn it. Yeah, the bumps coming onto the straight have caught out many a vehicle, and it seems always whatever you do with the cars, they can get in trouble across here, especially these ludicrous ones. It's the kink at the end of the straight that has caused some massive accidents. Even the Carrera GT, even modern vehicles are not immune to that section of the track, Be interesting to see how this one fares. I think it'll probably be alright. I don't think we're going to have that much in the way of problems with my Mercedes. We are up to the 200 mile an hour mark. Not the fastest accelerating car. We have had it's down on power. It's 200-300 horsepower down on some of the fastest vehicles, so that's not perhaps too surprising. We are up to 221 miles an hour, 222. Can we get any more? We will start going fractionally downhill here if we can. Oh, it isn't really capable of doing much more, I don't think. There we go, 222. We did get a little bounce up into the air, and then we had to have a little, okay. Okay, no, we're fine. We're fine. We've scraped the wall, but we are okay. It did a peculiar thing. It was, the suspension kind of started bouncing it around, and I think that's perhaps not helped by it being a slightly higher ride height. I was kind of hoping we weren't going to get that problem with this car, but we did. It started bouncing it around, and once it was started, it's not going to stop at those sort of speeds. I thought I'd got it under control after sort of initially getting the car turned in. That wasn't quite the case. A little bit of a shame, slightly problematic there. It's just slightly too soft, slightly too high a suspension on the car. However, the speed is it's okay. It's certainly not the most impressive vehicle that has gone. I mean, it's perhaps not the greatest of streamlined shapes. It's not the worst, certainly, but it's not the greatest, and of course we are down on some of the ludicrous levels of power. The 222 will put the car into 19th place. It will go, oh sorry, I lied, it'll put it into 18th place. It goes a couple of miles an hour faster than the Subaru Brat, beats the Mazda RX-3, the Plymouth Fury, the Alfa P3, but it is down on the Alfa Romeo 75. It's slower than the Volvo 850R. The front-wheel drive crazy estate car is faster than this Mercedes. I gotta say, of all of the cars, this Mercedes is probably the most forgiving of the silly car builds, despite that huge amount of power in a relatively old car. It's incredibly forgiving around the wet weather Brands Hatch circuit. Good fun to drive around here. Just got a little bit caught up on the bumps down the end of the straight, but that has caught out many a vehicle. They're very vicious on Forza 6. I love this car. This is he's a great fun car to go messing about with in this spec. Anyway, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.